If you're just joining us, we're building my neighbor Jeff a fabricating bench, very similar to the one that I have there myself. So let's get started. First thing we need to do is to get these trimmed off right here so that we can mount that steel up here flush. I'm going to have a little overhang so we have room to clamp. That grinder's getting that galvanized just hot enough where there's some fumes coming off of it. That burning and welding on galvanized is toxic. I have something coming up for you guys. So I ordered the cheapest plasma cutter on Amazon. It had good reviews, so we'll see right at a little over $100. So that'll be coming up. We'll unbox it together and try it out and see how it compares to a more of a pro unit. Also, something else that I had never really thought about, and I'm sorry I forget who it was, but one of you guys was telling me that you were taught by your dad when you put these fiber wheels on your grinders, not to over tighten them. He mentioned that I may have over tightened that a little bit, and that could fracture it and not allow it, and cause it to break. And I know I run these without the guard, probably not advisable, but I do, but I think that's a good point. I won't tighten those up so much. It's important that we have this flush because our steel is going to run out here. We don't want it to come into contact with anything. I'm going to mount his vise on the right-hand side. I think that will be the handiest for his shop. So this is going to be the area where all of the pounding is going to take place and most of the work is done. So we're going to reinforce this. I've got some, looks like 3/8 by inch or so flat bar, a strap, that I'm going to flush to the top of this and weld in here. And now that steel will bridge across here and we can tack and tack it so he doesn't get any vibration from it. And it'll have a very strong surface right there. This is one of those things that I've put off too long. Believe it or not, I actually have one 30 amp 240 plug that I have swapped back and forth between my plasma cutter and my my welder for too long. It makes me mad every time I have to do it. So we have two now. So now I'm going to be able to just plug it in and not swap it out. You know those things where you were always intending to do it and then you kind of forget about it because you don't use your welder all that often, and then you go and need it and it doesn't have a plug on it. That's the type of thing to make a guy go crazy. Somebody said in the comments today, it takes a brave man to show his welding online for all of the critiquing. Yeah, no, I get that. What's worse, you know, I've always told you guys the worst of all the trades, the greatest prima donnas are of course, the arborists. If you want to bring hate upon yourself, just go show yourself cutting any sort of a tree online, and they'll tell you how you do everything wrong and how dumb you are and how smart they are. Well, the number 2 guy is the electrician. You know, my dad always summed it up. You know, coming from as you guys probably have picked up already, I'm a little touchy about electricians because being a superintendent on a construction sites, they were the greatest sinners, and you know they always left. Well, that's not fitting in there very good. They would never pick up after themselves. So it's not. I don't have anything personally against electricians, other than maybe I feel a little bad. Or I kind of wish I would have became one. So I think it's a good job, but man, all of the electricians that told me when I shared that wiring, you know, I wired my plugs in my shop a couple months ago, the doom and gloom and how it was all going to burn down, and man, oh man, still getting residual comments from those guys, but it hasn't burned down yet so far. What I'd advise you guys, if you get that concerned about it, don't go to Mexico, because you won't sleep well at night in any of those hotels when you see some of the wiring that our friends south of the border do. And I don't know why electricians are so highfalutin or they get so snooty. Because, I mean, to be honest, you know, my dad summed it up perfectly. That's one of the easier jobs, actually. You don't have to be creative. There are rules, and you follow the rules, and you don't think outside the box, and there's just a way of doing things, and you just do it. You're trained to do it, and that's what you do. You take a guy that's like a carpenter or someone that has to like come up with solutions to all sorts of problems, or the job is never the same twice. That is, in my opinion, is far more difficult than doing electrical work. Yeah, you got to study and you got to know your stuff, but not that they're not both, you know, I'm not saying it's not important, but let's keep things in perspective. You know, you're not the smartest guy on the job because you're an electrician. You have a very specific skill set, which is to be admired for sure. But I wouldn't say that it's the hardest by any means. But I'm sure there'll be some disagreements with that. Hallelujah! 2 plugs, one for the plasma torch, one for the welder. Boy, why didn't I do that 5 years ago? So next up, I'm putting these cross members up, and I'm going to put one every 2 feet. This is a flat bar, and this is just what I have. You know, there might be some angle would be nice, but that's what I got. It's 3/8 thick by 1 inch. It's very strong on edge. So I put 2 together really closely right here because this is where most of the pounding goes. And then I'm going to space these every 2 feet, and I'm flushing these up here. What you can also do, I did with mine, is that this pallet racking is designed to receive a piece of 2x material, so a regular 2x4, 6, 8, 12, whatever. You can span in there, so you can get a little bit of extra if you want to by laying whatever scrap 2x material you have in there in between these, these ribs, I guess you call them. We'll just pull a 2-foot layout here, mark it with our Sharpie. We'll have to grind that to all those coatings off there before we weld it. We'll just transfer these lines over. This will tell us where to weld. Well, guys, I think we're ready to put the steel on. I want to find out where that lies so I can put my next cross member so that we can share it. Both pieces will fall on that. This is a 1/4 inch plate, 2 foot by 8 feet. Several of you asked how much this stuff costs. It depends, you know, steel, you buy it by the pound, so it fluctuates with the market. But a 4x8 sheet is going to run you about $400, so $200 for this. If that's a little bit steep and you still want a metal top, you can put a double layer of plywood. That'll give you 1.5 inches of structure, and then you can get some 20 gauge. And a lot of sheet metal shops will break it for you, meaning they'll put a bend over it so it can roll it down nicely over the front and cover up all that wood, and that'll work too. Several of you guys ask why the overhangs on the bench. Well, it's to give Jeff options, and especially for clamping. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made on a table, one of the first tables I made is I brought this flush and there was no way to clamp anything. So now you have a 1 inch and a 2 inch over here, all on both sides. Over here we're, of course, a little bit shy. You know, planning is not my strong suit. I get excited to do something and I kind of jump in and start doing it, and I don't do all the figuring that I should. My dad's really good at that. My dad can order a lumber package for an entire house and be so precise on it that there's just tiny little bit left over, like little pieces, almost no waste. I've never been very good at that, so I should have, for some reason I was thinking that these were 8 foot, and even then it wouldn't have worked because the 8 foot stops here, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to have machine shop then cut me about an 24 by 18, and that will lay in here, and then we'll weld that and just do a butt joint here. That's not a problem because that's the working end over there. Mine's done the same way. I haven't even noticed it. I didn't realize this was going to go 3 parts, but that's the way it is. Hey, I want to give a special thank you to all of you guys who stepped up and offered to send us advice, and there was just a huge outpouring. I appreciate that, really do. Because I wanted to get this going for him really quickly, what seemed to work out best was I found one on Amazon that was on sale. It's not the top of the line, but it's a good vise. It was about a $250 Wilton, and it was on sale for like $160. And one of my subscribers, Mike, thanks a lot, Mike, stepped up and said, pick out the vise you want, I'll take care of it. So he paid for that vise and is having it sent here. It should be here on Tuesday. And it's a real nice Wilton Mechanics vise, about 6-inch. So that'll be really good right here on this corner. So I do appreciate all the offers, and there was even guys that offered to put money towards the materials and all of that, and I appreciate that. No need. It was just just getting the vise was enough. Everything's taken care of. Half of the stuff on here was just scrap around the place anyway, so it doesn't matter. But we'll mount that right here, and that's going to be really nice. I really like this bench. It's a good way to do it, and it's going to be heavy duty. And remember, when you're building stuff out of steel, make it pretty, because if it's ugly, it's going to be ugly for a long time. Blacksmith told me that years ago. So, all right, so tomorrow, I don't know what tomorrow. Maybe we might jump on that plasma torch and see how the cheapest plasma torch on Amazon does, or if it works at all. We'll see. Or I might jump on this, depending on when I can get that steel. But thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I invite you to do that now. If you enjoy these videos, I ask if you could thumbs up video. That would help us. And as always, keep us in your prayers. May God bless you and your families, and we'll see you guys on the next video.